Hey there, it's Angela here. We're going to review what is geospatial technology. Well, it sounds kind of fancy. Maybe for some of us, it sounds kind of scary because, let's face it, some of us are into tech and some of us aren't. Like, have you ever heard the phrase, I'm not very tech savvy? Well, then that means that a word like geospatial technology is not going to sit well with a lot of people. But little do we know it's something that we use every day. So even though something might have a fancy name and has a really fancy way of being utilized, it has a very basic way of integrating within our lives. So what we're going to be talking about is, all right, let's talk about what exactly is geospatial technology. What is this geospatial information, which is data? A little bit about geographic information systems, which is GIS, remote sensing, global navigation satellite systems, and then how we use geospatial technology. So let's go ahead and dive into what are we talking about exactly here? What's geospatial technology? Well, yes, it is a technology. Yes, it is a technology that we've been utilizing now for a few decades, and we become ever more increasingly dependent on it. Now, exactly what am I talking about? Well, previous to using our phones, we used what we called was like a sat nav, where we got these little um, devices to help us tell directions. So before we used our phones, we were buying these, right, to help us get around town for directions. There were things that you could buy and you would plug into your car. Well, then our phones were able to integrate that sort of technology. Previous to using sat nav, which is satellite navigation systems, we were using maps. We were using the Thomas Guide. If someone gave us directions, they gave us directions. Okay, Angela, you're going to meet me at my house. You go straight down 17th, you go left on Santa Clara, and then you're going to go right, and I'm a second house on the left. Is that the way we give directions anymore? No, it's not. We basically just give our address and we know that someone can find it. And in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, we were doing that by these global navigation systems. Now we're doing it with our phones. After that, we came into with handheld GPS systems. And after that, we were able to use programs like Google Earth. Previous to being able to actually look at photos of the Earth from your computer, we actually had to buy these images or get access to these images from someone who might have worked for the government. Now we can look at them as a private person, as a citizen of the United States, just by downloading Google Earth. Satellites that are up in our higher atmosphere take these photos, and now we actually have access to them. Not only that, but now we're able to have these not only in our hands, but now on our wrists. We have navigation systems on our watches. Let's go ahead and take that a step further. And in places like the city of Portland, Oregon, you can actually go on www.portlandmaps.com. You can look up your address, you can see how much it costs, and you can actually get an idea of what has been done to your house. So, this is where data is starting to be stored. So, not only do you have access to technology that connects you with your home or your address, but it also starts integrating specialized data. For example, how much your home costs, what are the taxes, what is it made out of, and then also will reference if you've had any permits pulled for any work done to your house. Geospatial technology also helps us with directions. How do we get from point A to point B? So, the use of various technological systems and tools that acquire, analyze, manage, store, and visualize location based data. So, we've just gone through several of those examples. So, it's technology that has the ability to acquire, so means to gather or take data, it analyzes it, it manages it for us, and then it stores it. Not only that, and then it visualizes it for us because we're humans and we want it to be visualized. So it acquires information like an image or like directions. It analyzes it. Okay, where am I going? Point A to point B. And then it visualizes it for us. What are the components of this technology? So there are four key components. We have the data. Geospatial information means we're talking about a piece of space or a particular space on Earth. What part of space are we talking about? What part of the Earth's surface are we talking about? You get to dictate that space. So when you're giving directions, for example, how far away are those directions? Are they across the country? Are they across the city? Or are they just in your part of the neighborhood? So it's any given space and you dictate that space. And then we have geographic information systems, which is the integration of data and maps. Then we have remote sensing. Remote sensing is technology that allows us to learn about something without interacting with it. Remote sensing, think about satellites, think about drones, think about infrared technology, think about LiDAR, which is light detecting. We get to learn about something without interacting with it. So think about the photos that we pull up from our phone about a particular area. It could be a place we've never gone before. Think about a place you've never gone before and you can look up that location, what it looks like on your phone. For example, somewhere maybe in the Rocky Mountains. I haven't been everywhere on planet Earth, so there are places that I like to learn about. Remote sensing technology helps me learn about those locations without ever having to go there. And then we have global navigation satellite systems that make all of this possible. So, what is geospatial information? What is this data? It's any data that has a particular location. So, it could be physical, it could be cultural, or it can be abstract. So, for example, here we're taking a look at a map of community college, Clackamas Community College. Here we're taking a look at a map of Mount Hood Meadows, which is a ski region on the eastern side of Mount Hood, the volcano Mount Hood. Here we're also looking at an abstract phenomenon in terms of someone's business card. Well, how is this geospatial data used? We use the 5 M's of geospatial science, which is measure, monitor, map, model, and manage. And then that automatically moves us into GIS. GIS is a system of hardware, software, and procedures that supports, captures, manages, manipulates, and analyzes, models, and displays spatially referenced data that helps solve problems for planning and management. A more simplified version of what is GIS, for example, if you're trying to explain to someone what it is a partnership between spatial information and non-spatial information. Give me an example of that, Angela. What does that mean? So, for example, if anyone ever gave you a spreadsheet of information, for example, demographic information like this is the city where I live, this is how many people live in this city, this is the ethnic makeup of the people, in the city in which I live. This is how much money they make. Each one of them makes. Now that's all data. That's all information that's non-spatial. That's informational data. And we partner that with spatial data, with an actual location. So example, we would take that information about the population of your city, then we would add a map. That map would visualize the data. So what GIS does is it takes information like a map, and then it takes all of that other data like demographic data, and it makes it visual for us. It visualizes these things. For example, here is an example of a spreadsheet. This is data. It's non-spatial. You can't see a map with this, can you? But yet this is helpful informational data. Then we add the map, the spatial aspect. You take both of them, you put them together. This map visualizes all of this information for us. I don't know about you guys, but I know which one I would prefer to look at. I prefer to look at the map that visualizes this data for me. That's what GIS is. It's the opportunity to see data from a spreadsheet visualized in a particular area. This map, for example, is showing data, visualizing data in a spatial way that represents the 2010 population according to US County. There are different types of spatial and non-spatial data. Spatial data includes vector, which are points, lines, and polygons. Raster data is a matrix of cells and different images. Non-spatial data includes tables and text, as we've seen here. Remote sensing. What is remote sensing? The measurement or acquisition of information from property or an object by a recording device that is not in that physical or intimate contact. So we sense through the lens of a camera or some other device something that is remote from us or not near us. So remote sensing is being able to interact with or sense something or interact with something that is not in our vicinity, something we don't interact with. How do we accomplish this? We accomplish this through aviation, through satellite, and through drones. After all, we're able to sense or interact with images, for example, the bottom three of places that we might not ever go. This brings us into global navigation satellite systems, which we know as global positioning systems, GPS, or SatNav, satellite navigation. Now we've got handheld GPS, we've got a SatNav for our car, and in essence, now that's our phones. So, how do we use geospatial technologies? Yes, even us at home, we can do this from our tablet, we can do it from our handheld device. Who uses this? Who? We do. The government does. Businesses do. Environment management does. Everybody does at this point in time. Yeah, 20 years ago, it might have been mostly the government, but now this is a technology that's available for everyone. How does the government use this information? We do this to develop our economics, for housing, for taxes, for human services. Our law enforcement uses it, for example, helps us get to where we need to go. What areas have we been? You can actually map areas that have been having increased crime. How about logistical? This helps map the movement of goods from one place to another. And how about emergency management? We use this for wildfires. We use this for the Red Cross. People can look, where can I go if I need to shelter from this hurricane or this earthquake? Logistical applications. All right, I want to see where there's traffic right now or where there might be some places that not safe for me to go right now. So I go ahead and I check online. The logistics. For businesses, where are my potential customers? You can actually take data and visualize it on a map. And then it will tell you, oh, maybe that's where I need to put my next Costco. Oh, maybe that's where I need to put my next business or my next coffee shop. So, for example, people might say, oh, this would be a great proposed site for a new drive through or a great new in and out. This also has environmental applications. So, how are we going to utilize our water? We can map out different types of soils. Here's an example of that. How can we monitor our rainforests? We can actually sense or take photos of these locations and we can monitor them over time without actually visiting those locations. This has public health implications. Where do we have food deserts, for example? You can go into different parts of places like Portland or Los Angeles and notice different parts of these cities where there are relatively few places to actually buy food. How about public health implications? This is mapping out heart attack rates. Is there a pattern? Also has mainstream applications for us like our handheld devices, something we use in our everyday life. And here are some of those examples. We also use it in recreation. When we're running, we want to know how far we've run. Or if we're into mountain biking, there are biking apps that let us know how fast we're going. We can actually race people on certain apps in terms of mountain biking. And if there's someone we've never even met, we know if we're beating someone or if we're not beating someone on a particular race. The media and the news use these applications as well. Also, social media apps. And now we have Google Earth, which we have programs that we can interact with and remote sense from wherever we're at. We can watch them all. These 4 episodes here encapsulate what we consider to call the geospatial revolution, how this technology has absolutely changed our lives and how we as humans have adapted now to this new technology in the short span of really just a few decades. So we've gone over what is geospatial technology, what is this data, what is GIS, what is remote sensing, how we utilize all of them, and now what they've done for our lives.